that we have going that I may become a member of, but I will be a very active and vocal member of the community.
Thank you. And Mr. Price.
Well, I think anybody that knows me knows that over the past 14 years, I haven't missed a day hardly to come to this chamber, as the mayor, I'm sure, will attest to. And I will continue to do that. I will continue to hold the council's feet to the fire, and I will continue to advocate for the citizens of this city, as I have done over the past 14 years. I don't think there's anything more important than making sure that the people are treated and fairly, and that they have transparency and access to their government as they are supposed to. And as a matter of fact, one of those things that I will definitely advocate for is making sure that this city goes to a 5-day work week, and that we also have a council that is going to meet twice a month rather than just once a month. These are things that I believe that should I not be sitting in the center chair, I'm going to be an advocate for, and alongside of the police department to make sure that those folks are staffed and compensated properly.
Thank you. And Mr. Price, it's you again.
Yes.
What training do you think a city manager should have, and what qualities would you look for in hiring one?
I believe a city manager has got to have a firm grip on exactly what governmental regulations are those that are going to help the city in the way of making sure that we stay compliant with any laws that are going to regulate how we operate the city. But I think it's also one of those things that we need to make sure that this is going to be a hands-on position. Specifically, when it comes to procuring equipment and services within the community, we need to make sure that we have someone who is going to ensure that we have competitive bidding, that we also have cooperative purchasing wherever we can do that with another community that might be making major purchases, where we may be able to also be included in a manufacturing of, say, a piece of equipment where we can save money. That person has to be an advocate for the city, but also be right on top of all of those things that are going to be in the best interest and #1 for the community, plus having the foresight to making sure that our public safety, police and fire in that order, are absolutely taken care of the best that they can possibly be.
Thank you. And Mrs. Fall?
The training of our city manager should be one in which it's hands-on. He should know his staff and know the jobs that are related to each of the staff members. He should be willing to take on personnel issues. If there is a person who is not doing their job, that person should step forward and make sure that that job gets done. That is a key to any business, and he needs to run the city like a business. The revenue must equal the expenses, and when they do not, then we need to step back and say, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to make the enterprise funds work so that we're equal, so that the expenses equal the revenue, and not move money around and say that is okay. But we really need to have a city manager who is in communication skills, not only with the personnel, but with the city. He needs to be able to communicate and let the citizens know exactly what is happening in his city. And he needs to let the city know what is happening to his city council. That is a key. And be honest. That is the #1. Be trustful of all. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mayor Fall. Can you hang here for a second? Do you think it is proper to use city facilities and personnel to deal with political contributions?
Could you please repeat that again,
Yes.
please?
Do you think it is proper to use city facilities and personnel to deal with political contributions?
I don't know what the law is. City staff and city facilities should not be used for political fundraising and that type of thing of the candidate. Now, they may rent the city hall, or they may rent the community center for a fundraiser, but they should not use it without some type of proper payment. And you should not use city personnel in individual fundraiser activities of the candidate. Those, you have to keep them separate. The running is a separate from the day-to-day operation of the city. So you do not use any equipment, you do not use anything that is related and is owned by the city.
Thank you. And Mr. Price?
Absolutely not. The facilities here, the public facilities, should never be used under any circumstance for any type of political receiving, giving, whatever. The perception that would come from the public would be detrimental. If we start showing that the facilities here are that which can be manipulated by way of perceived money or whatever being utilized, that's not going to be something that I would ever be an advocate for. And I would go one step farther. I would not allow for the community center either to be rented out to be used for political gatherings of any sort. The perception that the city would have some type of connection to that would be something that we should never ever touch. So to answer the question bluntly, no, we should never ever use the facilities at City Hall or community centers for any kind of political activities under any circumstance.
Thank you. And Mr. Price, if you are elected, would you consider using the castle dorms and apartments for the homeless people of Atwater?
I've spent the better part of, I don't know, 35 years out of Castle, and unfortunately, 19 years now since closure, everything is deteriorated. Are those dormitories out there sufficient to utilize for that? Absolutely not. There's asbestos abatement issues. There's no fire suppression. There's no elevators for multi-story. The only thing that would be good to raise out of that is a cloud of dust from the wrecking ball hitting it. Those facilities are not proper for that. For homeless, I believe that it's time that if we do start seeing that as being a problem within the community, that we need to get together with our District 3 supervisor, whoever that may be. The county has those types of programs in place. There's also homeless shelters within the city of Merced that we should contact, and the faith-based organizations do a wonderful job with that, and I think that that's the answer. To try to utilize Castle for something like that would be totally improper. Castle is still, after 19 years and counting, under development stage, and it's time to look at it from that aspect and not homeless housing.
Thank you. Mayor Fall?
A number of years ago, when Castle was first, when it was closed, they had suggested using parts of the dormitories for the homeless and that type of thing. But at that time, they found that they were not they were not up to standards, they were not up to the codes, so they would not be proper housing for the homeless. And I think this probably stands today. I think they're worse than they were at that time. So I would agree that that is not a place for the homeless unless we decide that we receive a grant and we redo the whole dormitory program and bring it up to standards. That would then be a possibility for the homeless. We do have D Street Shelter. We do have shelters in Merced, but they do not fulfill all of the need that we have for the homeless. The homeless it is a major problem that we have, not just in the city of Atwater, but in Merced County. And it's something that it's going to have to be an ongoing process. We're going to have to really look into it. But the key with the homeless is to try to find permanent shelter for them. not just temporary shelter, but actual permanent shelter. So it's a problem that is going to get worse before it gets better.
Thank you. The next question here sounds similar to a question that was asked, but I think could be seen in a slightly different light, so I will ask it. Mayor Fall, what do you feel are the issues that should receive the highest priority for the city in the next 4 years? And we need more questions, folks. At least one or two.
Probably the highest priority for the city of Atwater is the economic development. We, due to the fact that in 2008 and 9, we lost millions of dollars of property tax and sales tax, and we had a major housing boom that went bust. We have to develop the economic development. So we have to the continuation of the Applegate Regional Shopping Center Phase 2, opening up the 20 acres of commercial property that we have out there by clearing out the plant. The development of the Ferrari Ranch and medical retail complex. This is where we have over 200 acres of retail and medical, but we have to get it developed. So we, and the Castle Development Center, that is we need to continue with that. That we have 70 home buildings out there, 70 businesses. We need to continue to develop the Castle Development Center. So that's, and we have major businesses coming out there in the form of Google, and then the Sierra Aeronautics Academy is developing a new business out there. So economic development is the key for the city of Atwater. We must have it in order to meet our financial needs.
Thank you. And Mr. Price?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What do you feel are the issues that should receive the highest priority for the city in the next 4 years?
I agree with Mayor Fall. I think the financial condition of this city is one of those things that is going to need to be addressed. But we need to understand something. We have to start helping ourselves in this city, and that's what I want to bring to the table. One of the things that I want to make sure that we don't do is we don't go and shortchange our police department. Back when we were in our most dire straits and the council was continuing to take their pay and allowances and doing all these things, in 2012, this is the sign that I was carrying. I don't want any police officer to ever underestimate the fact that I am out here for them. And I want them to know that. And I want this community to know that. Nothing is more important in this city than to have a solid police force. Now, along with that, I want to make sure that we don't have any more red flags go up to the state controller. When they came in here, they just completed a 4-month investigation. We just also had Price and Page submit a report on the 24th of February that said that our financial condition left doubts as to whether or not we would continue as a financial or a city concern, meaning we're not going to be able to exist as a city. Those are the things that are uppermost in my mind. Public safety and a financial condition that is going to save this community.
Thank you. And this is going to be the last question, and I thank whoever wrote it. It's a good one. As mayor, what would you do to get more people participating at council meetings and other at council meetings? I'm not sure what the other word is. I'm having trouble reading it.
What would I do to...
What would you do to get more people participating at council meetings and I think other community events?
The council meetings of number one thing I would do, and I would do this on day number 1, is we're going to go from 3 to 5 minutes of public comment. My opponent has made the comment in the press that if we go to 5 minutes that people are going to be put to sleep. I don't ever put anybody to sleep, I don't think, when I make a public comment. So I think there's people within this community that probably would have something to say that I don't believe that would be that. And be that as it may, whether I agree, whether the council agrees with whoever is up there, transparency and openness to this government, to this local government, is number 1 anytime, anytime. And I would make sure that I would start with a 3 5-minute rule going out and a 5-minute rule coming in. To get people more in a participatory type of angle on that, I think one of the things we need to do is make sure that we have 2 council meetings per month. That goes also to the transparency and openness. People want to come and be on the record with certain issues that are burning on them. And I think that that's a thing that I would absolutely instill in the community is we want to hear. I want to hear from you, and I want to know what your concerns are. Those are the things I would do.
Thank you. And Mayor Paul.
Yes. No, Mr. Price, you do not put us to sleep. And I just wanted to make that statement. But 3 minutes, most of the time, if you cannot get your job done and your thoughts crossed in 3 minutes, then you start repeating yourself. And that's one thing I have to say about Mr. Price. He gets his thoughts across correctly, and they're very distinct, and I give them credit for that. That is, but I just think that 5 minutes, then that reduces the number of people who can come and participate, and the 3 minutes allows you to continue to bring on more people. And with our committee, with our meetings now, we're able to. We have our thoughts from the notice to the public, where they can speak at that time or any time during the meeting. They can come forward and speak, and so it helps to move the meeting along much quicker. And then we need to get people in our young people, our government classes in our high schools to come forward. I've been to speak to them and encourage them to come. We had Buhack Colony. We had the young people coming to our meetings so that they get to be a part of the meeting, and so they can see how the meeting works. And we've encouraged the Atwater High School kids to come forward and meet. But with our different committees that we have, our 4th of July is another good one to get people to participate. Our PAL program has I'm sorry, what? Oh, thank you.
However, this may make a nice segue because we're now ready for closing statements, and you're first.
Okay. I have served on the City of Atwater Planning Commission, Parks and Recreation, City Council, and most recently served as your mayor for the past 8 years. As a resident of the City of Atwater, we will work together for the common goals of increasing public safety, maintaining utility infrastructure, parks and recreation services, financial solvency, and responsible economic development. My strengths are trust, integrity, and my unwavering advocacy for each individual. Throughout my political career, I have wholeheartedly invested my efforts to create a safe, positive community environment. It would be an honor and privilege to continue to serve you. And I'd like to thank all those persons who submitted their questions and the League of Women Voters.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Thank you. And I, too, want to thank the League for doing this forum. Ladies and gentlemen, this election, as I've been saying all through the times that I've had the honor to speak to people, this is about leadership. We've had things that have gone on since back to, I will go back to 2009, where we had incidences with our financial condition that just got ignored. And then what did we get hit with? We got hit with the hardest of our increases in water and sewer, and some people just can't absorb those sort of things. I don't know anybody that's got a 100% pay raise here lately, but that's what the city got. They got a 100% pay hike when it comes to the water and sewer rates over until 2017. I want to make sure that this community understands that openness and transparency is going to be the forefront of a Jim Price mayoral seat. We're going to make sure that this community has an open and transparency like they've never seen before. We have got to get out of this rut of financial condition that just keeps us dragging down. We have our credit rating is down. We had a individual report from Price Page that was not flattering. The state, those things have to be changed. I'm going to bring those. I have lots of ideas. I'd be glad to speak with anybody after the meeting today to expound on those. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your questions as well.
Thank you. Okay, and now it's time to thank the candidates for their candor and their opinions, and I want to thank you personally for some really, really good questions, so thank you. And we're going to have a 10-minute break and reconvene here at 7 o'clock and talk about city council candidates. Yeah, it is something that was my first thought. Yeah. No, but it's. Thank you. I enjoy this. It's like I have to go wash my hands.
tell the audience that so that they don't rewrite the same question. Okay, if it was appropriate.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 7 o'clock. I will ask that you please take your seats.
This one on? No. On now?
Would the candidates for City Council please take your seats up at the podium?
On now?
Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? Sitting next to you, right? Oh, I'm right over here? One more, Brian. Brian, one more. Bill, one more. Oh, this feels good. I feel at home now. That's the first one you've been doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 7 o'clock, and I would like to begin.
Might survive. Those are adjusted.
Testing. No, yeah. Testing. I think there's some booze, but
Yeah, I was
On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Merced County, I would like to welcome everyone to the Candidates Forum for the Atwater City Council. And I apologize for repeating myself for those of you who were here for the forum earlier for the mayor, but I see a lot of new faces, so I need to go through all of the rules and everything again. The League of Women Voters is a national, nonpartisan political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We advocate to impact policy, but we never, ever endorse candidates, regardless of office. My name is Mary Hoffman. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Merced County, and I will be your moderator for this evening. If you have not already done so, please turn off your cell phones. It's really bad when one of them goes off. The League wishes to acknowledge Jim Sanders and the J.D. Sanders Company for Jim's cooperation and effort so that tonight's forum can be broadcast on Comcast Channel 96 and is available on computer by live streaming. The League of Women Voters of Merced County question screeners for tonight are League members Marianne Reynolds, Kathy Weber, and Susan Miranda. League member Rachel Hadley will be our timekeeper for this evening, and Dee Neer and Corey Lucero will collect question cards that are submitted by tonight's audience. Could you wave your hands, Corey and Dee? Here are the ground rules for the forum. This evening will be devoted to the views and positions of the 4 candidates running for the 2 open positions of on the Atwater City Council. Candidates were invited to place their literature on a table outside the chambers, and the League also has voter information in terms of easy voter guides, which are very helpful in trying to figure out propositions, pros and cons. Yes, thank you. They're free for the taking. Tonight, we will not have opening statements from the candidates. We found that this allows more time for questions, and each candidate will be given 90 seconds for a closing statement so they can wrap up their feelings and their issues at that time. We thank the public who pre-submitted questions, and during the forum, written questions will be accepted from the audience. Please print legibly so that our screeners are able to read them. When you've written a question, raise the card in the air and Dee Neer will pick it up. Now, if you asked a question already for the Atwater mayoral candidates that would be appropriate for the city council questions as well, we're kind of running them through again, so if you've already asked a question, it may be asked again, because if it is appropriate for this race as well. Criteria for the questions: they must be, 1, relevant to the office. Sometimes people want to know about things that are totally out of control of the candidates, and so those questions won't be asked. 2, they must be appropriate for this election, and 3, not of a personal nature. We cannot ask questions specifically to a candidate. This is not a debate, this is a forum, and we are limited to issues. The seating arrangement was alphabetical. Each question will be answered by each candidate in turn, and the first responder for the first question asked was established by a random drawing. The second question asked will be directed to the next candidate to your left, our right, and you'll go in a circle, and then we'll go, everybody takes turn being first. Nobody wants to be first, so everybody gets a chance to be first, second, third, and fourth. All candidates will have the opportunity to address the same question. Each candidate has up to 90 seconds to respond to every specific question. There will not be follow-up responses. So if a candidate's response doesn't address the question being asked, I will repeat the question. And if it comes to you for your turn, I will repeat the question if you ask me to. So if you're third, you might want a little clarity on that. That's fine. No additional time will be allocated to the 90-second response time if you go off topic and I have to bring you back on. This is your time to inform voters about your position on a variety of issues. It is not the time or the place for you to provide comments about what you think other candidates will or will not do. Responses are timed. The League of Women Voters timer, Rachel Hadley, will signal candidates with cards marked start, 45 seconds, 15 seconds, and 5 seconds. When the allotted time of 90 seconds is up, the red card indicating stop will be shown. The candidate may complete his sentence and then stop. If the candidate doesn't stop, the timekeeper will stand up and say, stop. Would you like to? We are highly trained and experienced at this. Tonight is an opportunity for us to engage in civil discourse, to talk to each other face to face as good-willed people who all basically want the same thing. We want a government that runs smoothly and efficiently in the interests of all its citizens. As this evening was designed to provide a nonpartisan setting for voters to hear all positions, we ask that there be no demonstrations of support or opposition to the candidates on their positions. That includes no applause for individual candidates, no booing. I actually had that happen once. It wasn't in Atwater, you'll be happy to hear, but we had to escort that person from the room. If there are any disruptions like that, we will do that. We've done it in the past. So at the end of the evening, that's your time to give everybody a round of applause, and especially yourselves for coming up with good, substantive, issues-related questions. We plan to end this portion of the candidates' night just before 8:30. We may run out of time before all the screened questions can be asked. All questions remain with the League and are shredded afterwards. Also know that there is a lag time. When you ask when you put a question on the card and it goes to one of the people who collect the cards, it goes out to the screeners who make sure that it fits into the criteria that I've already announced, and then come up to me, and then I kind of sort them so I don't ask the same thing twice and so forth. So there's probably about a 10-minute delay. So, understand that. There are 4 candidates currently vying for these 2 positions: William Barkman, Fernando Echevarria.
I'm right over here.
You're saying, you should be here.
Well, he said I couldn't get that mic to work.
Oh, okay, so the heck with the mic. Okay. And could you pronounce your last name for me?
Echevarria.
Echevarria. Echevarria.
Already
Okay.
causing problems.
Yeah, I have, my last name is Hoffman. It's spelled like nobody else spells it, and so it does too. Brian Raymond and James Vineyard. And each candidate will use the microphone at their station. The mics are all live, so please pull them towards you when you're ready to speak, push them away from you when you're done speaking, and know that they're live. As this evening is designed to provide a nonpartisan setting for voters, I already said that. Okay, we're going to begin our first question with, let me pull out my little sheet here that I prepared in advance. We're going to begin with Mr. Raymond. And my first question would be, how would you encourage or support greater participation by the public on voluntary city commissions and at city council meetings?
Well, the first thing we really need to do is get out to the community and encourage citizen leaders. We have to encourage the participation that way by educating the voters, educating the citizens, and teaching them the importance of serving on these commissions and what you can do for your community to better serve. And then in that case, or after that, we'll have the volunteers we need to serve on the super committee we have now to help make the decisions to grow the city.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard.
Yeah, we need to go out to the different organizations, neighborhood watches, Kiwanis Alliance Club, make presentations to them and approach the different people in the community and advise them what we need from those people, because a lot of those people have the background as far as traffic commission, things going on, planning and everything that could fit into those positions on the commission. As far as getting participation here at the city council meetings, we need to stop the bickering and we need to work together and get a cohesive group here so that people actually have time to make comments and to get done with the city business. That way, once we're dealing with an issue, they can come up and make comment, and instead of listening to everyone fight, we can actually continue with the business at hand.
Thank you. Say it again.
Fernando Echevarria. Thank you so much.
Echevarria. Okay.
First of all, we have to gain the public's trust. If we don't have a trust factor there, it ain't going to work. Second of all, if I'm elected, I'm going to have an open door policy. 8 to 5, you can come and talk to me. Even if you run into me at Walmart or R&N or any of these little stores that I shop in all the time. Hey, Fernando, I got a problem with this. Or, hey, Fernando, I'm not going to shun you. I'm going to say, hey, I'm not busy. I'm going to talk to you. Number one, open door policy. Number one, establish that line of trust. We have many other organizations out there, such as this one, which brings people together and we're able to communicate more effectively. Like I said, we have also the Merced Sunstar that puts a lot of information out there free of cost, so we can use that as well. Open door policy, communication with a trust factor included in it, and also our little committees that we have. We get a lot of input with our small committees that have a lot of information that they have. But one of the greatest things that I feel that we have is is the town hall meetings. Those are very important. I think Merced has their town hall meeting in charter. Is that correct? I think that's correct. We have that in charter. So town hall meetings, open door policy, and basically we just have to earn the public and the voters' trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman.
Some of the things that I think need to happen is that we need to be accessible to people. Coming to meetings is one thing, but when it's hard to get a response from a city council person, you sometimes wonder if your opinion counts. So responding to emails, responding to phone calls, letters as a city council member is important. It builds that relationship. Another thing is, I've been in the city council meetings when students who are in government classes have come in and essentially been disrespected, ignored. We cannot ignore the students nor any person who comes to city council or has an opinion. Another issue that we need to deal with is simply the past inability of some of the members of city council to be cooperative, to get along, to be civil. One of my favorite poems is "Everything I learned for life, I learned in the sandbox." And I think that's one of the things I can bring to the city council, as well as my ability and my experience.
Thank you. We'll begin the second question with Mr. Vineyard. Would you support an Adopt a Park program and other similar volunteer programs?
Absolutely. Actually, I work with the volunteer program now, and I'm in charge of the Neighborhood Watch program, which is strictly volunteer. I'm also part of the Atwater Volunteer and Police Service program. So there's things that we need help with in the community, and getting the community involved is a big part of my program and something I think we need to look forward to doing. It's a stopgap measure, but why not get the people invested? This is your city. This isn't just my city, but this is the people's city. So let's all get involved with it. There's people out there with skills, and taking care of our parks and taking care of our city is a big step. So we need to get people involved in that and bring them in. So a volunteer program is a very good program to do it with.
Thank you. Mr. Echeverria.
Good. I think the outreach services here in Atwater are lacking. I think that we have to improve on that, and if we can get people to help us to work on the parks and help us clean up the parks and get some volunteer people that would come in and help us with the parks, that would be a good idea.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman.
I currently lead a volunteer organization as a church pastor. That's how we survive, mostly is through volunteers. We need to emphasize that, but there's a very important issue that's been missing so far, and that is risk management. Whenever we have volunteers, we take on an issue with the city of not only giving them proper training, but proper medical coverage or proper equipment that is working and isn't going to break and possibly injure them. So we need to make sure that when we have volunteers who are not covered by city medical or workers' comp, that we make sure that we have provided for their safety and proper equipment that's working so that we protect them as they help us in their volunteering.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Would you support an Adopt a Park program and other volunteer programs?
Yes, absolutely. And Adopt a Park program is great because it gets the private citizen involved and takes some of the strain off the government. And when you unleash people who want to voluntarily come out and take care of a park or take care of a road or a section of town, it's going to be so much better maintained than when the government steps in and gets involved. And the results, if you look at Osborne Park, back when my family was heavily involved, we always were out there taking care of those fields, taking care of those parks, and it's just the private citizen doing it is the best thing. So I would absolutely do that because that would cut costs for the city and it would better the town.
Thank you. We'll begin question 3 with Mr. Echevarria. What do you feel are the 2 issues that should receive the highest priority for the city in the next 4 years?
The 2 issues, and let me emphasize.
Or top 2 issues. No.
Excuse me?
The top 2 issues.
The top 2 issues,
Yeah.
and let me emphasize, this is in my opinion, are with economic growth for jobs. We have to foster economic growth for jobs. And then second is safe neighborhoods. They work both hand in hand. You have safe neighborhoods, you have jobs, people want to take care of their places, they want to spend money, they want to buy a lawnmower, they want to buy paint. It makes the whole area better. You get people that aren't working, you get crime goes up. You get somebody, you wake up, like for example, I had a neighbor wake up in the morning, what happened to my lawnmower? You know, when people aren't working, they're getting in trouble. They're using drugs, they're using alcohol, they're not focused on the community. So the 2 most important issues are, for myself and in my opinion, are fostering economic growth for jobs. That is a top priority. And safe neighborhoods. Those go hand in hand. And there's no 2 ways about it. Anybody that wants to argue that point with me, go ahead. You're going to lose. They work hand in hand. I want to be your councilman so that I can go out there and foster economic growth. I want to get some of these places that aren't taken care of, and I want to get everything done and present it in a package.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman.
Notwithstanding the fact that we need proper police care, I think probably for the city council specifically, the first priority is to not make any more bad decisions. One of the bad decisions that was recently made coming out of the 2-man committee for solar was that we are paying 15 cents a kilowatt hour to Siemens out at the treatment plant, and we're paying 19 cents an hour, kilowatt hour, to Conergy on that new contract. I spoke with UC Merced, and they informed me that you can have power purchase agreements for as little as 8.9 cents to 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Why are we paying so much more for our energy? We can't make those kinds of thoughtless mistakes. The other thing is economic development. Ferrari Ranch will bring eventually up to $2 million to the city, 2,900 jobs, and a lot of extra amenities to the city. But we need to focus on getting the small businesses, not the huge ones like Tesla, as we work with the county, but we need to step up and look for those companies that are just starting out, that are 10, 20, 30, 40 employees, and get a lot of them in the pipeline. Thank you.
Mr. Raymond.
This kind of took a little different turn, but as far as a 2-man committee, that's obviously something. But reading a contract and having people vote 5-0 on it, reading a contract is something that the city needs to work on, the council does. But economic development is obviously key. We have to grow our economy, and in growing our economy, we can hire the cops we need to get the boots on the ground to provide safety, because without safety, you can't grow the economy. So we have to start small and lure in businesses however we can. But these are two main points. But everybody's issues are major issues. So it's hard to just pick and choose, because for the lady down the street whose barking dog is a problem, to her that's a major issue. So we have to come back, as far as my point. It's the economic development and the public safety. And we have to hammer those home and do what we can to lure in the business.
Thank you. And Mr. Vineyard?
Part of being on the city council is basically listening to the people and listening very carefully. The two main things I hear out there is, one, public safety, and there's two sides of that coin. There's the police side, which we have to build up and we have to maintain. There's also the fire side. Those are our pieces of equipment in those stations, engines, et cetera. We have to maintain those as well. That's the number one priority in my field. The second thing is the economic stability, because people want jobs, people want to get their resources up, their money up. We have to bring in businesses. We have to bring in hotels to bring up the tax on tourists. We got to bring in the money to develop this city. You bring in those more businesses, you bring in more families, you build more homes. That brings in more money to this city. So those are the two things you have to do. You got to protect the people, both fire and police, and then you have to bring in the businesses to get the economics up so that we're not spending more than what we're taking in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Echeverria?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What do you feel are the top two issues that should receive the highest?
I think I just answered that, yeah. I think I was the first one.
Okay.
Well, I can answer it again.
No. Okay.
We need economic growth.
Hang on. All right. Yeah, okay. What was the question? I've sorted it.
Top two issues.
Yes. That's what I thought. But they said no.
No, he'd already answered it.
You started it.
Started with him.
I started with you. Oh, golly, I'm sorry.
She was
Okay.
in Las Vegas till then.
I was, yeah, we did this in Las Vegas last night. Yes. Okay. We'll start this one with Mr. Barkman. Is that right? Yes. Or am I goofing it up? Okay.
Oh, that.
Thank you. What training do you think a city manager should have, and what qualities would you look for if hiring one?
Well, a standard degree for city management is a master's in political science, public policy, and administration, or an MBA of some kind. There should probably be some sort of experience in city management as a department head or a assistant city manager. Another area of experience might be work outside of city management so that they have some business experience. I know some of the greatest training I ever had was in a company's business development or management development training program. Some of the things that were mentioned earlier, like honesty, integrity, hard work and such, those are character issues. You cannot train those. You can correct them maybe, but the integrity and honesty of a person is born into them. It's what some people might call a moral issue, a mental issue, and you need to carefully screen who you hire to make sure that they have those character traits that are good for this kind of high-level management position.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, oftentimes you look for someone with a master's degree in public administration. That's a common theme throughout most departments. But when you think outside the box, which is a term that's been thrown around City Hall a lot lately, you look for the business owner. Look for the guy who's been successful. Look for the guy that signed the front of the paycheck and the back of a paycheck, been able to balance the budget in his business, in his home, and that's someone who can usually transfer over and run a city properly. Our current city manager doesn't necessarily have all that background, but he's done a great job with what he's been given. And so you don't always have to have that guy that's got that degree. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
I think you got to have someone that's pretty well rounded in a lot of different areas. You got to have someone who is well versed in administration, dealing with employees, someone that has a pretty good background in budget, someone that has some idea of what goes on in a planning department, has dealt with contracts in a wide variety of ranges, someone that's dealt with grants, because they obviously have to have an idea of how grants operate. And then you have someone who has dealt with union and union contracts. So you got to have a wide variety of area of expertise. And then as far as personalities, they have to be able to communicate well. They can't just be able to ignore you. So they have to be able to communicate on a wide range, because they deal with a wide range of people from city council all the way down to the lowest employee. So the communication skills is very good, both in writing and verbally. So that's pretty much what I would look for.
Thank you. And Mr. Echeverria?
Thank you. Well, we can't afford anybody from Oxford, so that's out of the question, and we have to work with what we have. And I think the chief of police, which he turned out to be the city manager 2 years ago, has done an excellent job. Okay, number one, he's saving us money by not letting us pay for a city manager or including it in the salary. I know we got rid of that position, so I think he's doing a good job. And if you really take a close look at I hate to say it, but you take a close look at Merced, it's like night and day here. You talk about a gated community that people like to live in and keep it all nice and pretty and keep all the bad, ugly people out and keep all the good, kind people in. Well, that's kind of what we got here, if you really look at it. And if you really look at a standpoint of other cities, Modesto, Fresno, Merced, doesn't compare to what we have here. And I want to protect it. We have a good chief of police. And he's doing a fine job of managing the city. And I would suspect that we just get somebody like him to fill the position. That's how I feel about it. Like I said, we really can't afford a good city manager. Okay, we don't have the money to pay for it. So we get what we get.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond, it's your turn to start this time, I'm sure. And this question is, please tell us about your work history.
You want me to start back when I was 18? No.
That's all the question says.
After I graduated high school, I always had the dream of becoming a police officer. So in my early 20s, I went to the police academy, where I was able to graduate and move on, and I went and worked for the Livingston Police Department for approximately 5 years, where I was injured in the line of duty and unfortunately was medically retired. Since then, I started business with my dad. I went through real estate academy, basically, and took the classes needed, and together we've started our business, and it's growing every year. We're up to 4 agents, so we are growing day by day, but that's pretty much been the extent of it.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard.
I started out as a volunteer firefighter up in the little town of Mariposa when I was about 15. And then started as a seasonal firefighter for what was in the California Division of Forestry when I was 17. And worked in that job, putting myself through college, got an AS in Modesto, and then went up and got a BS, Bachelor of Science, in Humboldt State. And then got on permanent with what became the California Department of Forestry and then became CAL FIRE, and worked in that field for 36 years, working my way through. About half my career, 18 and a half of those years, I fought fire. Worked hand crews, worked with budgets and things at station level and both at camps. About 17 and a half years of that, my last 17 and a half years, I was a law enforcement officer for CAL FIRE. Putting away arsonists, as well as working with CHP and other law enforcement agencies, putting other criminals away. I work as a volunteer for the last almost 3 years here at the Atwater Volunteer for the Atwater Police Department. I also work as the neighborhood watch coordinator for the Atwater Volunteer Department. So, and then I also belong to several different Care About Kids, Kiwanis, and other agencies. So,
thank you. Mr. Echeverria?
Yes, I've been in Merced County for a long time, all my life. And in my very beginnings, I worked in the field. Picking grapes alongside my family. Hard work, little kid. I went on to earn an Administration of Justice degree out of Modesto Junior College, numerous post certificates. I began my law enforcement career, which I've committed myself, I involved myself in for over 10 years, both public and private. I began my career as a 16-year-old Livingston police cadet. So I'm well aware of law enforcement and the needs. I've also worked for Merced County for 12 years through the Department of Mental Health, which was great job there, and through the Department of Education. I've also worked 5 years in a property management business partnership. We had renovations, like I said, property management, renovations, sales, so on and so forth. I've devoted my life at a young age working, and I have high regard for people that work, if they can. If they can't, that's a different story. But I think each individual here in Atwater has a responsibility to the community to be productive and to contribute to our city. 15 years public service, numerous post certificates that are expired. Obviously, I started in 1980. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Barkman.
Okay. Started out in music education, got my Bachelor of Science degree, was thinking of going into education, didn't go that direction, ended up getting a master's from Anderson University, and currently I'm working on a doctorate in leadership development. It's pending my dissertation if I ever get the time and money to finish that thing. I've worked in mental health as a psychiatric nursing assistant while I was working on my master's and my business career. The highlights are that I was a regional manager for a $1.2 billion corporation and then moved into their corporate office to direct product and sales training for the entire corporation, both our direct sales and indirect sales personnel. I've managed a startup company that has 18 state managers and 400 staff from every aspect of the business environment that you can think of, from real estate to payroll to HR. I left that and went into ministry about 10 years ago. Currently am the chief officer pastor of First Church of God and Fruitland Christian Preschool across from Atwater High School.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard, we'll start with you. Please tell us what you will do to make this city council more transparent if elected.
It's all about accountability. We have to be accountable as far as what we do and how we do it. It's not about pointing fingers at what happened to the past. So we have to just be open and honest with people. We have to be accessible to people. We have to encourage each other and not go behind closed doors all the time and make decisions behind closed doors. We have to come out here to the public and be honest with them and be open on what's going on. And we have to be forthright with people. So to be accountable to the folks and answer their questions when someone asks a question, not sit up here closed mouth, but if there's a question that can be answered, we need to answer it and not just hide behind this desk. So I would encourage all the city council members to answer questions when it's asked, and then just to be forthright.
Thank you. Mr. Echeverria?
Could you repeat
Yes.
the question, please?
What will you do to make this city council more transparent if elected?
I believe, like I said, I want to reinstate what I had mentioned before, that I want to build a trust line with the voters and with the citizens of Atwater. I feel that trust is very, very important. If you don't have trust, you just don't have anything. You can't just go out there and make promises without, coming through with them, and you can't go out there and making commitments that you can't fulfill. I'm about, like I said, very basic. My platform is just promoting fostering economic growth for jobs. It's very plain and simple, and safe neighborhoods. In terms of the question, I would just more focus on, like Mr. Vineyard said, transparency is a major factor. I think we have quite a bit of transparency with the budget here that allows us to see that there's some things going wrong, that there's some numbers that are being up and down to satisfy the general fund voter interest. So I think transparency is very, very important, but I just cannot emphasize the word trust more than T-R-U-S-T. Trust is a major, major factor. And I would be willing to listen to anybody at any time, anywhere.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman.
Trust is developed, and I don't think people with the city are going to learn to trust the new city council until they've had some experience one-on-one with each of the city council members and whoever the mayor is. Part of that is answering emails, answering phone calls, answering letters, going to coffee with people, being able to sit down with them and listen to them, talk with them, share your ideas, hear theirs. Another issue of transparency is when you have committees, you have more than just city council and staff on it. You bring in, maybe with the finance committee, one of the bankers from the area. If it has to do with land use, maybe a realtor. But you open up the committees to provide more access for citizens and people who know what they're dealing with to sit on those committees. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Raymond.
We could try being honest. To be more transparent, we just have to be able to communicate effectively with people and tell them the truth. That's something that politics has been lacking for a long time, and that's something that I bring to the table is honesty and integrity, and I believe that that's going to be the key, and an open door policy where people can come in and see what's going on. Closed sessions are needed. That's a fact. But you don't have to be so secretive about everything that goes on in the city. And I think that you starting with a council that does that and welcomes people in and talks to them, it's going to be a process, but that's how you start. And I think, we can work on that. We can make that happen together.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Echevarria, with all the ADA lawsuits going on, should the city assist businesses in ADA compliance?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely, definitely. I don't know if any of the members of the audience have read the articles that have been coming out in the Merced Sun-Star regarding an individual here that has started many lawsuits for ADA violations. When you have that many lawsuits from one particular individual, let's wake up here, let's see that there's some criminal activity or there's some type of motive that is allowing her to go and pursue these. Money, she's just going after money. So I think, yes, the city has to step in there, but the key is legislative enactment of new laws that will prevent serial litigists. Did I say it right? Litigists. So, that's something that we have to get involved with. And yes, we have to. One of my platforms and one of my focus points of why I'm running is I want to be there to protect and promote small local businesses. And that is my promise. I've already spoke with a lot of the small merchants here that are supporting me, specifically some Indian merchants, and they are really, really excited about me running because I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to be there.
Thank you. And Mr. Barkman, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I have it. Thank you. I want to commend the things that are already being done by citizens such as, I think Mr. Lee was handing out a warning about a serial lawsuit artist. I'm not sure what to say, but they've taken action, the businessmen have taken action without having to involve the city or the city's money and time. I commend them for that. Also, there are ADA training programs that have been brought into the area that are available to the businessmen, and there are companies, individuals that do assessments. Even some of our planning department, community development department people can help with that. But one of the key things is that we have to be constantly on our assemblymen and senators to enact change at the state level to be able to mitigate this problem.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond?
Yeah, absolutely not. The city's job is to not go around and spend money and pass legislation or whatever to help the businesses. You know, I've said it before, education, not legislation, is the answer. And just at the Chamber of Commerce coffee this morning, Officer Hoffer mentioned bringing in somebody to the chamber, which is a group of businesses where they voluntarily get together and have an ADA expert come speak and educate the businesses on what they need to do to maintain compliance or to get into compliance. And that's what we have to do. We have to educate the businesses through other citizens, and that's how you solve it. It's not the job of the city. We don't have the money to go out and help the businesses come up to code or compliance.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
I think actually we could get involved. And that means we have to get re-involved with the Chamber of Commerce and get re-involved with the businesses downtown and elsewhere and help the Chamber of Commerce, not necessarily financially, but help them bring in this training to all these businesses. We have to re-engage as a city council with the businesses in this town. We have to re-engage with the Chamber of Commerce to find out what's going on in our own city, because we haven't done that. And this is one way to do it, is to go in and help them put on this training by at least making, if they can't make the contact, we should as city council make contact. We don't have to put a financial burden on the city by doing that. We can do it in person with our own voices. But we need to be engaged in this because it is our city and things are coming down and we need to be prepared.
Thank you. Okay, we'll begin this round of questions with Mr. Arkman. And how much money have you raised and who are your two top contributors? Obviously, that's having to do with the campaign.
I've raised about $3,000. I expect more to come in. My top contributors has been both times Cal Fire Union, local, I think it's 2881, with 2 checks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Raymond?
I've brought in approximately $6,000, give or take some. Private business has been my biggest donor, private citizen and business.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
I brought in about $13,000. Cal Fire CDF Local 2881 is my top, and Jeannie Knight is my second. Central Valley Disposal.
Thank you. Mr. Echeverria?
Thank you for that question. One of my focal points of running is that I come to you with no special interest alliances. I come to you with no special interest hidden agendas. And I come to you with $1,100 of my own hard-earned money. I didn't accept any contributions, nor will I accept any contributions from any special interest organizations. That is one of the most important issues here, is that we need council people need to focus on keeping special interests out of this city. That's how I feel, and I feel very strongly about that. I don't have the time to go on about the different arguments that I have against special interest. I don't agree with it, nor do I want to have that existence in this chamber. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Raymond, we'll begin with you. What are your thoughts on creating a youth council similar to the city of Merced so that youth can have a voice?
The youth should always have a voice, and we should always encourage that. Reaching out to the schools and talking to the students is key. As far as a youth council, if it doesn't cost the city money and it wants to get some kids engaged to better the city and better their community, we should absolutely look at it.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
I'm absolutely for it. We actually do have some different councils or groups, APAL, ATAC, that are already involved. I think we need to reach out to those groups as well as the rest of the youth, and those are the future city council people and mayor. So absolutely, I'm for it.
Thank you. Mr. Echeverria?
Yes, I think the youth programs are like one of the most important things that I have. I've worked in the schools, working in classified maintenance, but it's changed there, and we're very much involved in, or I was very much involved in a lot of the activities there. I think Mojo in Merced is like one of the greatest organizations I've ever heard of. If anybody doesn't know anything about Mojo, it's a mentoring odd jobs organization. And once again, that goes back to my own upbringing, that there is nothing wrong with hard work. And if we can motivate some of these kids to get involved with organizations like Mojo, then that would be great. Now, in terms of leadership, anything that the adults want to plan for the kids are probably not going to like. Okay? So we need to really focus on getting our own kids in a youth council setting and asking them what they want and what would be good for them. You know, I know we can't afford much, and we don't want to go into the problems that Merced got into with their soccer field, okay? That was just a big mess, so we don't want to go in that direction at all. But Mojo is like one of the greatest organizations. I can't emphasize how much more that hard work is important for youth. There's time to have fun and everything, but you know, you got to work and you got to help out in society so you can become a productive member of society.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman?
Yeah, I agree that not necessarily something exactly like Merced would be helpful, but expanding services to youth and participation of youth would be good. But I keep coming back to the personal connection. Youth feeling like adults really care about them, will really connect with them, spend time with them. Possibly it would be even beneficial for a city council person to adopt, so to speak, a youth who is interested in the political arena and spend time with them, show them what it's like in city council. When the youth come from the government classes to city council, we respect them, we honor them, and again, we don't show that city council people fight and bicker and filibuster and make the meeting completely unappreciable. We've got to give them something to look forward to, and we do that by our relationship with them and by showing them we can get along and get something accomplished.
Thank you. We'll begin this round of questions with Mr. Vineyard. If the drought should continue for another year, what do you recommend to do to get Atwater through it?
Well, we have to look at conservation, so we got to look at educating the people further. It's a continuation process. There's still issues out there in the city. We still have to look at, when I'm on patrol as a volunteer, I still see people watering out of hours. So rather than waiting and passing it on to code enforcement, I actually go up and a lot of times knock on doors and try to re-educate people or leave a flyer that designates when the watering days and hours are. We also have to start planning for the future. So as a council person, I would look at trying to implement, possibly looking at somehow putting additional water tanks. Now, it's going to cost money, so you have to plan for that. But we're going to have to look at that in the future because sometime down the road, we're going to have wells go down. And so we're going to have those water tanks in place in order to have that capacity. So when the wells are down, we can't fix them right away. Or if it's going to take time to fix them, we have to have the water source there. So we got to look at some type of storage facility and a place to put it in the city. But that's what we have to do. We have to educate people right now.
Thank you. And Mr. Echeverria?
Yes, there's three things that I'm very, very concerned about, and number two is water conservation. I don't know how much more I can emphasize conservation. We have to have something for the farmers. The farmers are very important, and we have to have water for them. So water conservation is very, very important. Another aspect of water conservation that I want to bring up is that there's now legislative interest in groundwater, extracting groundwater. I'm against that. I'm totally against that. You own the land, but you really, really don't own everything underneath it. And when it affects other people's wells, and when it affects other people that they can't irrigate their crops and can't, we have farmers that aren't even planting 20, not even 20% of their, of their entire crops. So that's something we have to look at, and that falls again back on jobs. If we don't have water, we're not going to have jobs. I don't know if any of you members of the audience out there have read the Atwater book, that we have a history of the Atwater book. It's about a sweet potato. That's how we grew up, okay? We farmed a sweet potato, and we got rich off that sweet potato because of water. So we need to concentrate on farmers and water conservation.
Thank you. And Mr. Barkman?
Some of the things regarding water conservation are already being addressed and mandated by the state, such as 2 days a week. I spent 10 years in Colorado, and Colorado's water needs were as great, and it was as dry and arid as anything we have. We never watered during the day. And I think it's reasonable to ask and require people, when they do water, to water at night when there's less evaporation. One of the things that we are going to have to deal with as water becomes more scarce is finding ways to drill more wells for the city, to create storage capacity, and some of that falls upon the state. But that's a state issue, and there's county issues. What can we do? We can water at night. We can require it. We can also increase penalties for people who persistently water at the wrong times or too much.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond?
If the drought were to continue for a year, we'll be in serious trouble. We have to prepare. We have to help educate the citizens on how they can conserve water. Again, it comes back to education. We have to understand that when the water's gone, it's gone. And until we get rain, storage won't work, drilling wells won't work because the water won't be there. So we have to plan for that as well. And we have to make sure the citizens can take care of themselves. The grocery stores only have enough water in place that would last for approximately a week if there was a run on the stores, less if everybody went at once. But as far as what we can do right now to prepare for it, we can try to get people to water at night. We can work on just showing the people what we've been doing and how we've been conserving so far and how it's helping, and just continue to ask people to please conserve water. And Atwater, we've been doing a great job. God bless you. Keep it up.
Thank you. And we'll begin this round with Mr. Echeverria. If elected, would you decline the pay and repeal the ordinance for your pay?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I was elected here, it would be an honor, okay? I'm not in it to make any money. If you look at what I'm about, there is no special interests. I want to restate that because that is very important in my campaign, that I'm not accepting any special interest funds, any kind of money, or I have any alliances. No, I don't want any money. I have my own money. I've worked all my life. I've got my comic book investments. They're making more money than CalPERS. In fact, going back to CalPERS, as we speak this very minute, I'm pulling all that money out of CalPERS. I'm going to invest it here in Atwater. Okay? CalPERS isn't doing anything for me. Back to the money issue, I don't want a dime. I don't want a dime. I'll take care of my own things. My houses are paid for, my cars are paid for. You know, like I said, I've worked all my life. When I was a kid, I worked to get my first car, started working at Livingston Police Department as a cadet there. You know, I was in hog heaven. You know, when a 16-year-old's got a car and working for Livingston Police Department as a cadet, there's no better pride than that. So it would be an honor, and I would not accept not a dime.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman?
First of all, we all need to understand that Atwater is not a charter city. It is a California government law city. The provisions for any city official anywhere receiving any pay or compensation is dictated by California law. We do not have the power to repeal those laws. We do have the power and moral right to refuse payment for anything we do at this time. Expenses, if we do something for the city that's on the benefit of the city, mileage, to help increase economic development, that is a reasonable request to have expenses covered. But as far as pay or insurance, I have my own insurance, I have my own job. I would refuse it.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, at this point, the city can't afford to pay the perks and the benefits that they've been giving council over the years. And the current council has given all theirs up, and I plan to continue that trend.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard.
I would not take the pay regardless whether the city could afford it or not.
Thank you. We'll begin this round with Mr. Bachman. Let's see. What do you see happening to our community in the next 4 years?
That is largely up to us. If we as a community can come together and be civil with each other, if we can stop name calling and get over our anger. I learned a phrase a long time ago, man's anger does not accomplish any good. And we need to move past anger and find ourselves working together to be positive for the city. When economic development people come to the city to look at us, if they find the city at war with each other, they're going to walk away. We need to be unified in what our attitude is, our goals, understanding our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats, working with Merced County Economic Development. We can make it exactly what we want to, but we got to work together rather than arguing with each other.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond?
At this point, we can't predict what's going to happen in 4 years. It's a crapshoot at this point. But what we can do is we can work together to try to foster in economic development and public safety. If we want anything positive to happen, we have to have the proper public safety. And so if we bring that in, then we can bring in the economic development we need to grow the city. And when we grow the city, you can see huge things happen. We can start taking care of our parks the way they need to be taken care of. We just have to focus on getting the public safety up to staff and going from there, and then we'll see what can happen at that point.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
I kind of have to agree. We can't see what the future is. However, we need to promote the professionalism of both the city council and everybody involved, including the citizens. We have to promote fiscal responsibility. We have to promote community involvement. We can't sling mud all the time, every time we turn around. That has to stop. We have to focus on the issues at hand, and we have to work together. Because if we don't, then this city will tear itself apart and will continue to go backwards instead of forwards. We have to plan for the future. Where we'll be in 4 years, that all depends on the people of this city, because they are the ones that are either going to build it up strong with us or they'll tear it down. We have to work together. This isn't an I system. I can't do anything. I'm one vote. It's we. This is we. This is our city. So we either build it up together or we fall down together. So I'm asking you to help me build this city together as we, the Atwater City.
Thank you. And Mr. Echeverria?
In the next 4 years, the city of Atwater is going to face some major challenges. And one of them is a balanced budget without any accounting gimmicks. We need a balanced budget in the next 4 years. If I'm elected, if you give me that honor of being elected, I will work hard for you. I will work exceptionally hard for you. And I will be the most accessible, accountable, open-minded person you will ever meet in your entire life. Just ask some of the teachers at my Atwater Elementary School District that I've worked with. Ask around, ask some people that know me. In terms of the next 4 years, I think the chief of police is doing a pretty good job, and if he continues in that direction, we have input, we all work together, I'm sure that we're going to be in a good financial state, but the budget coming out for next year is not going to look good. I'm going to tell you that right now. And CalPERS is just dragging down the pension system. If you don't agree with me, then you're just fooling yourself. We need to actually look into a private investment pension fund. Like I said before, my comic books from the 1970s are making more money than I've made with my money being invested in CalPERS. That's why I'm pulling everything out and investing in Atwater.
Thank you. I just received a note from out there asking me, apparently this was advertised as concluding at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
8:30.
Yeah, I thought it was 8:30
8:30.
too. Okay, so we can do a couple more. Let's do 2 more questions, and then we can have the final question, because a lot of these, I think we still have good questions, but I believe that in some way, shape, or form, you've probably answered most of them, whether directly or indirectly. So let me get back to my sheet. We'll begin this one with Mr. Raymond. What core values do you think are key for someone in public office?
Honesty and integrity are key for anybody to succeed in life, really, but in public office especially. In Atwater, you'd be having approximately 30,000 people that you're representing. You need to be honest with them. You need to have the integrity and the moral values to do what's right, even if it's not popular or not cool. You need to be able to make those hard decisions because they are right and just and for the benefit of the city, and more importantly, for the benefit of the people of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
Integrity, respectability, openness, professional, and very honest.
Thank you. Mr. Echevarria?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. What core values do you think are key for someone in public office?
Yes, I must have, I do agree with integrity, trust. Like I said, once again, trust. There has to be that trust factor there. If you don't trust your councilman, who are you going to trust? Can't trust anybody. So the trust factor has to be in place. No games, no beating around the bush, no being Mr. Nice Guy sometimes. Sometimes you can't be Mr. Nice Guy. Sometimes you have to make these hard decisions that nobody likes, but they have to be done in order for our city to thrive. So trust, integrity, and also the fact that you have to make hard decisions. You have to say things sometimes that people don't want to hear and people don't want to listen to. This is a major part of being a councilman, is that you sometimes have to, say the things that people don't want to hear. And I'm sorry for that. I really am. But in terms of the survival of the city, that's the most important thing. And the survival and the safe neighborhoods for the community members, that's more important than anything.
Thank you. And Mr. Barkman?
I agree with everything that these guys have said, but two things that stick out in my mind to add to these things that have been said is, number one, a sense of humility. If we are on this panel of elected officials, we have to have humility. Used to be, we talked about being public servants, being in politics, being on this counter, behind this bench, this dais, can go to our heads and we can get full of ourselves. Some of us may come up here full of ourselves to begin with. But we need to remember that we are public servants. We need to have a sense of humility and service. The other thing is we need to be teachable. Nobody ever stops learning until they are dead. And if we get to the point on this city council that we can't learn anything, we're going to make mistakes on city council that are going to cost the city big money. So that's what I would add to what's been said.
Thank you. And for the last question, we will begin with Mr. Vineyard. If you are not elected, how do you see your involvement with the city continuing?
I don't see my involvement with the city changing one bit. I'm still going to be an Atwater volunteer in police service. I'm still going to do the neighborhood watch coordinator job. I'm still going to be involved in Kiwanis. I'll still be involved in caring about kids. I'll still help coach softball if I'm asked to. I'll still try to get involved in any program and support the police department in any other program I'm asked to involve. I'm involved in this community. I live here for 28 and a half years. This is my community, and I will be involved in it and help try to make it improve until I'm no longer living. This is my community. I want to see it improve. That's why I'm running for the city council. I want to make it better.
Thank you. Mr. Echeverria?
I'm not going anywhere. I spoke about this with my treasurer, Earl Brewer Jr., and we are on a 10-year plan. I'm 52 years old, and I'm going to do this till I'm 62. That way, when I'm 62 and I'm kicking back and selling my comic books, I'm not going to be complaining that the city didn't do this and the county didn't do this. No, I participated. And I voiced my opinion on things that need to be changed and things that need to be acknowledged. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm in for the long run. And also, I am beginning a nonprofit foundation for a Atwater movie theater, something that the community needs. Our kids don't have anywhere to go, and I want to be a part of that. Right away, people are going to say, where are we going to get the money, blah, 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 blah. We can look at the Wired Cafe. I would like to get the Department of Education involved in that, to have maybe students come and help out and learn, and then we can have all the schools have their fundraisers in the theater so they're not putting their kids out on the corners everywhere and peddling candy bars. We can have every other day that a fundraiser, we can have Mitchell come in one day, and then we can have Eileen Coburn come in. I want to build something for the next 10 years, so I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you. Mr. Beckman?
If not given the honor of serving on the city council, I will continue to serve as a watchdog on the Measure H Oversight Committee. I will continue to show up at city council meetings and give my voice where I can. If asked to serve in other ways, I would be happy to. I will continue to have discussions with the superintendent of schools for AESD on how we can impact as a town literacy issues within the community through the preschool and the church. We will continue to work with Atwater High School students whatever way we can, such as we've helped some homeless high school students who are trying to make it through their senior year. So I'll be active, but I look forward to serving on this bench.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond?
I'm a young small business owner with a young family and small children who I love dearly. So my involvement in the community is only growing as my kids grow, being able to go out and do things with them, and it will continue to do so. And, just this past weekend, we had the Love Atwater event with my wife and kids out cleaning up the city, doing service for my fellow man and the city was a beautiful thing. And to see all the people that showed up to go out and do it, I can only encourage everybody to do that. And me and my family will continue to do that as well as other things.
Thank you. And we will begin closing statements. Again, these are 90-second responses. Mr. Echeverria.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Fernando Echeverria, and I'm running for City Council. Thank you for being here, everybody. Like I said before, I've been involved in law enforcement for 10 years, both public and private, beginning my career as a 16-year-old Livingston police cadet. I've also worked 12 years for the County of Merced through the Department of Mental Health and through the Department of Education. I've worked 5 years in property management, private businessship, sales. I've been involved in local politics for 20 years. No tax on food passage, a candidate for the Merced County Retirement Board in the year 2000, and campaigning for my local candidates. I'm about fiscal responsibility. That's what I'm about, fiscal responsibility. Water conservation and fostering. Let me emphasize the word fostering. Fostering economic growth for jobs. I will fight for a balanced budget without any accounting gimmicks, and I will also fight for the transferring the city fire business back to the city of Atwater to save money. I will promote local small businesses, and I want to promote more Latinos, African Americans, and women and Asians to seek public office. Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Mr. Barkman.
Again, thank you, those with the League of Women Voters, for this opportunity, and all of you who have participated tonight. I want to reiterate that I have extensive executive management background, handling millions of dollars, hundreds of people. I know what it takes to sign and receive checks. I know how to operate a budget. I've been endorsed by the police and the fire. What that means is they trust me in public safety, along with the others that they endorsed. I want to say that regardless of the outcome, we need to come together. This means we need to talk together, and I encourage all of us to share our ideas. If I am given the opportunity to do this job as city council member, I do plan on making more opportunities for the citizens and asking citizens to participate in committees and other activities as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Raymond?
Thank you for having me here tonight. So a couple weeks ago, I'm leaving my office. I'm heading down Constitution towards Bellevue. I see a car pull over on the side of the road, stops. I see a man reach over and hit his girlfriend, wife, 2 times. I reach for my sidearm. It's not there. I'm not a cop anymore. Didn't have my off-duty piece with me, so I called the police department, being a good witness. Follow the car, get the plate number. 4 minutes goes by. No cop showed up. That woman wasn't safe. She was not protected that night. It's because of a lack of resources from this police department. So when you go to cast your ballot November 4th, a vote for Brian Raymond is a vote for public safety. And moreover, some people have been talking about the news article that came out today, and one of my opponents has mentioned that it wasn't a big deal. The abuse of power of City Hall will not happen with Brian Raymond on the dais. For a former chief of police to come in and use the police department to take campaign contributions is highly illegal and will not happen. So when you go to cast your ballot November 4th, a vote for Brian Raymond is a vote for fiscal responsibility, honesty, and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard?
My name is James Vineyard. I got into this race for one reason, to make changes in this city for the better, not for the worse. I got tired of fingers pointing it and people getting blamed. The problem with pointing a finger, there's always 3 pointing back at you. So when you point a finger at somebody and say you're done wrong, always remember there's 3 pointing back at you saying you're done 3 times wrong. I live by a simple principle. It's called PAULA: planning, accountability, leadership, and accessibility. I fill in all 4 of those letters, and I fill them quite well. I've done it through my whole career. I'll do it as a city council member. I plan ahead 1, 3, 5, 10 years. That's what I plan to do with the city council, and hopefully my other members on the city council will go with me. Accountability. I'll say when I was wrong, and I'll try to fix it. I won't blame anybody else. Leadership. I'll take the lead, but I'll also promote those who want to take the lead for me, because I don't have all the answers. That's why I'll come to you and say, help me out. This is your city too. Accessibility, call me anytime, email me, write me. I'll get back to you. But I don't ever push the blame on somebody else. I'll give you the answers. I dig up the facts. I don't go by what ifs. If something's wrong, I fix it. And that's what I do as a city council member, and I'll do that if you vote for me.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for your questions. Thank all of you for your answers. Remind everyone to vote on November the 4th or through the vote by mail. And a reminder that next week, same time, same place, we're going to have two more candidates nights, one for the sheriff, one for the Board of Supervisors, District 3 in this room. Again, there are things on the table if you want to pick them up, and let's give everyone a round of applause. Thank you for coming, and have a good evening.